There have been dramatic changes to my life during the coronavirus outbreak. I lost all my possessions at the start of this, and I was hospitalised as homeless. From there, I was put into a homeless accommodation, which was very, very poorly maintained. And since then, I've actually moved up into a 4-star hotel where I've got a lot more comfortable lifestyle and being given the chance to accumulate some possessions such as a phone and a computer whilst I'm in a positive atmosphere to move forward with it.
In the first phase of lockdown, I remember a lot of thought having to be given to how I would obtain my food, and would I go into shops. I have continued throughout to frequent shops, but certainly for a good part of last year, not as often as I would normally have done. And for one period at the beginning of the lockdown, I was living in a sort of self-isolation, not because I'd thought that I'd contracted COVID or was carrying the virus, but because I thought being older, it was made clear that we older people were more vulnerable to it and to the effects of it.
Well, at first it was hard because I was working, and then the day after I stopped working, gave a phone call to say no more work, and I thought, oh no, I'm not liking this now. And they said locked down, it was like we were in the house and we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't see anybody, it was quite hard.
Den hadde og ma aktiviteter hvor I studerede, men jeg stoppede, men jeg har for mig at komme. Now I'm not nothing to be doing now.
My life has changed in a few ways, mentally, physically, and financially. At the start of the lockdown, I was then in a part-time job and in the temporary accommodation system. Financially, that was quite a struggle. The physical side of things was also a struggle because of the bus pass I could now not afford, and having some health issues with walking, etc. And mentally, that my mental health got affected by these circumstances within the first few weeks.
The support I had before, I have female members of staff, so they normally come and knock on the door, and they've taken me to whatever I've been going to, but since lockdown, all I've been having is phone calls from the different workers.
How's that felt?
It's been nice, because you get to hear what they've been up to and what how their family's doing, and it's nice to know that they're thinking about you and how you're doing, so then you feel less lonely.
What has been the hardest part of the lockdown for me has been missing friends, missing family. And there's a thing I really like, going for a coffee at Greg's, meeting the social aspect. It's very solitary on your own.
I think I realise I don't really have any friends. I've got loads of acquaintances, but it's made me realise, and it's shown me people for who they really are. That's a sad part of it, because people who I thought a lot of and maybe thought a lot of me, realise they don't even, not even a consideration. So that's kind of sad.
It is different, very different. Well, I've not learned new skills. I make cards. I've learned different ways. I draw, I paint, and I draw, and I do calligraphy. I've concentrated more on my hobbies, making cards for people. I'm very, very big on craft. I have a mental health problem, and the craft I find I would call therapy.
And squeezing in between Monday to Friday, which I hugely enjoyed, was going to the Stafford Centre and doing arts, crafts, sewing, and I actually was starting to make products to sell, to start my own little business from January through to March.
At first it was hospital, where it was a very nice mental ward as I recovered. Then I was moved over to council temporary accommodation. That was a severe drop. I was placed in a temporary accommodation called Almond House, which had extreme maintenance conditions. For example, in the bathroom there was a piece of lino just laying over a big hole, so there was a big dip in it and the possibility of crashing through to the next floor. There were many other maintenance issues there. It was a really depressing and oppressive regime that they ran there. I would say the hardest part of the lockdown has been when I was at Almond House. The oppressive regime really made me a prisoner in the room. There was no Wi-Fi on the upper stories, and you were restricted to the room between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. I once went out down the corridor after 11 p.m. and I was shepherded back to my room by a security guard. I don't see that you could even go out for a cigarette if you woke up during the night. It is like a prison regime in there, and the people there react to it in the same sort of manner, reinforcing the way that the environment treats them. At the moment, complete reverse. I'm in something that I would expect myself to be living in anyway. I'm only missing a gaming chair and a computer, and I'd be exactly the same as I was prior to this sand job, unfortunately, due to me being away from Newcastle. But yes, worst point when the council put me in Almond House.
The temporary accommodation had no kitchen, microwave, oven, so I did have to go out each day to get food from the amazing charities that do the free food services around Edinburgh, but most of them are about 3.5 miles away from where I was living, and I normally would be paying for a bus pass to get to those places. It really was staying out of the B&B much more than staying in, as it could have gotten really depressing, and I really found a good way to stay out. And when the lockdown happened, all my products that I'd made, or the little business props, etc., that I made, had to be returned to my little small B&B, cramped B&B. So some of it's been ruined. However, I've got my licence now to sell, and hoping in the next few weeks that will come into reality again. I've missed several months of starting a little business for myself. I've lost my job as well just a few weeks ago. That was due to illness. I was flooded on in one B&B. I had to evacuate instantly. There was a few worries and a few tears there. And then the next place I moved into, very, very sadly, my asthma was allergic to the damp and mouldy room. So I really was very poorly for a few weeks. And then I got repaired with the help of my doctor, medicine, and I got a bicycle donated, so I've started exercising. And